Welcome to the Reasonable Southerner podcast. The South isn't all magnolias in the moonlight, but neither is it all racism and violence. We're just like you. My name is Frances Coleman. I share my insights about my life and yours. Truth is, we don't care about the mentally ill. Treatment for mental illness is like motherhood and apple pie. Everybody thinks it's a great thing. Problem is, mental health care costs a lot of money, and too often political leaders don't want to fund it, or at least not anywhere close to adequately. Oh, they'll try to make the case that really, they need money for roads and parks and public safety. But let no one misunderstand the message they are sending. We don't care about the mentally ill. When I say we, I don't just mean the bean counters at City Hall or in the legislature, by the way. I mean we Alabamians who allowed our state government to close mental hospitals and slash mental health spending by more than a third in recent years. And I mean we Americans who decry the spending cuts when there's a school shooting or a celebrity suicide, but resume our attitude of indifference shortly afterward. Part of the problem is, you can call them mentally ill, unstable, or just plain crazy, but people who are sick in the head make the rest of us very uncomfortable. They may not look right, they may not act right, and we're scared of what they might say or do. Some can't hold down a job, others won't take their medications, and still others don't get much relief from the medications they do take. Even when they get the drugs and therapy they need, many of their conditions are chronic and costly. Meanwhile, other agencies and organizations are begging governments for tax dollars too. Some of them even have ad campaigns and celebrity spokespeople. People don't pour ice water over their heads in hopes of eradicating depression, however, and football players don't wear pink jerseys to wipe out bipolar disorder. Mental illness isn't sexy, and spending money on it doesn't result in better schools, resurfaced roads, or new ball fields. So, when lawmakers from Washington to Montgomery to Mobile cobble together their lean budgets, they can find it easy, or at least less politically painful, to whack funding for mental health. To say some other entity will take up the slack. To insist, as a city official in Mobile insisted several years ago, that mental health providers can do more with less. And they can get away with it because we, the public, don't care. Yes, some of us struggle in the privacy of our families to tend to children who've been diagnosed with schizophrenia, spouses afflicted with depression, or siblings who've got bipolar disorder. For the rest of us, though, mental illness is out of sight and out of mind. Until a young man kills his mother, and then 20 children and 6 adults, and finally himself in Newtown, Connecticut. Until a 19-year-old in South Florida slaughters 14 high school students and 3 adults, or until a man kills 10 people in a Boulder, Colorado grocery store. Often the police will say afterward that the perpetrator, quote, had a history of mental illness. Reporters will find people who knew him in recent years, and we hear their horror stories of how frightened parents struggled to get the attacker diagnosed, treated, medicated, or maybe even institutionalized before he did something terrible. The news media will offer up experts who decry funding cuts. The media will talk to law enforcement officials who declare that shortages of inpatient treatment facilities mean mentally ill people often land in jails when they belong in hospitals. At that point, we, the public, say to one another, "This is terrible. We must change the way we view mental illness." We, the public, say to our politicians, "You must fund mental health programs so people can get the help they need." Besides its impact on individual people and families, look at what a devastating toll mental illness takes on our society. Our politicians agree, and for a little while they make appropriate noises about putting more money into mental health. For a little while, we act as though we're going to keep up with whether or not they actually do. Time passes, though, and we and our political leaders gradually lose interest until we're back where we started, arguing over budgets and assigning more value to tangible projects and capital improvements, and asserting that really mental health agencies should learn to, quote, do more with less. And that is where we will stay, sadly, until the next mass killing forces us to pretend all over again that we really, really do care about the mentally ill. I'm Frances Coleman. I worked for newspapers for more than 45 years, from Texas to my native Louisiana, and finally to my home near Mobile, Alabama. I've been a reporter, an editorial writer, a columnist, and an editorial page editor. I've commented on the BBC, been a guest on the Rachel Maddow Show, and had my column distributed nationwide. If you like this podcast, please subscribe. But even if you don't like it, I hope you'll find it thought-provoking.